In 2016, Donald Trump surprised a lot of people by winning. He certainly surprised Hillary Clinton, surprised the New York Times, who thought she had a 90+% chance of winning. And I think one of the ways he did it was social media. In fact, I know that's how he did it. And the social media companies were shocked by that and felt like they were collaborators or they shouldn't have helped. And so they had a crackdown. There was a demonetization. There was a change of the terms of service, the kind of censorship, in the hope that that would never happen again. And that's very real. Rebel News felt the sting of that. Well, 2022 and the truckers and the convoy, I believe there was a similar thing that happened. The entire media party, as I call it, the regime media, attacked the trucker convoy. And I could count the exceptions in a few fingers. Rupa Subramanya of the National Post, and I'm almost done. But it was social media on TikTok, on Twitter. Rebel News was big into it, True North. It was all the little guys using social media that told the story. And I know on the Rebel News side, we had 400 million views and impressions in February. By the way, the CBC typically gets 320 million in a month. So we were so large. I think we managed to change the narrative. When I say me, I don't just mean Rebel News, citizen journalists, social media, ordinary people with a camera. And so at least that's my theory. It was a grassroots organic group of, quote, nobodies, the proles in the trucks. And then it was a group of, quote, nobodies with their camera phones that defeated the CBC narrative, the global news narrative. That's my theory. And I feel like I had a vantage point to observe that firsthand. And so now it's 2023, and look what Trudeau has in the pipeline. C-11, C-18, the old C-36, the yet-to-be-numbered Online Harms Act. He's got not one, but 4 proposed or in progress pieces of legislation, all of which would regulate the internet, some of which are being called the Rebel News Act, which feel like they're really trying to shut us down. I feel like 2023 is going to be a year of censorship, whereas in 2016, 2017, it was done by the tech companies themselves. I think Justin Trudeau is coming to silence the small, independent citizen journalists of this country. And I don't know if that's narcissism or paranoia on my part, but I truly believe it. And I look at these bills and I can't help but say that it's right there in the blueprint. What do you think of my theory that 2023 is going to be the year of censorship in Canada?
I don't think it's a crazy theory. I mean, if you look at the drafts of the bills that they put in place and the promises that they've made to do as you described, I mean, they have promised to do exactly that. So it's not like you are making up a conspiracy theory. You're basically just reporting on what they've said themselves, and what they've said themselves is dramatically terrible, in the sense that in an earlier era, you just would not have believed them to be serious. But this is where we've gotten to. We have gotten to a place where a chunk of the Canadian public believes that they should not be subject to misinformation. And by misinformation, they presumably mean that information that hasn't been approved by some kind of state authority. I mean, that is the worst kind of society you can think of. All bad societies have restrictions on speech. It's the loss of the idea of liberty, whether it's with respect to speech or otherwise. We have embraced the concept of a managerial state headed by people with expertise and authority to tell us all how to behave. And that idea applies to all of the problems you're talking about, including the censorship. Until we get rid of that core idea, until enough people say, you know what, this is not working for me. I don't want to do this anymore. I won't accept the idea of having a state apparatus, having a nanny state apparatus that has as its primary purpose the making of policy. This comes down even to the idea of policy. So policy essentially is a set of rules for people to follow. And that today is what government does. Government departments make policy. And we have so many government departments and agencies and officials and regulators. They're all making policies. And every one of those policies is a set of rules for other people to follow. And the rules that you're referring to are about what you can and cannot do on social media. It is intolerable and untenable. But it's the path we're going down until enough people say enough.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a battle, and it really could be the end of Rebel News. So, the Online Streaming Act, Section 9.11b, happen to know it,
Yep.
would give Trudeau's CRTC the power to alter discoverability. That's a fancy way to say, when you type in Rebel News, do you get Rebel News, or are you served up CBC, CTV, and the Globe and Mail instead?
Right.
You can boost your friends and deboost your enemies. And so they don't have to ban Rebel News. They just have to order YouTube, Facebook, Google, Instagram, Twitter to hide us because we are not a qualified Canadian journalism organization, which is one of their licenses. That's the way to kill Rebel News, not to ban us. A court, at least for now.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's exactly right because, and so there's a parallel between that and what happened during COVID. And the parallel is this. This is the way administrative states behave. They don't just go out and ban things directly because, they have charter rights and so on to worry about. They have gotten to the practice of doing through the back door what they would have difficulty doing through the front door. So it is exactly as you say. It's not like they're censoring you in the sense that no one can read you or watch you. It's just that they're adjusting things so as to reflect, a preference for a certain kind of content. And that's a much more difficult thing to challenge legally as well, because it's not direct.
That's an excerpt from my show every night. It's called The Ezra Levant Show. That's me, Ezra Levant. You can see the whole thing behind our paywall. Well, there's a lot of goodies behind there. I do a show every weeknight. My friends Sheila Gunn Reid and David Menzies and Nat and Kat have their shows too. You get a ton of content for just $8 a month. There's so much in there you won't find anywhere else. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.